Drake Maverick's video following his second WWE release surprised many, as if he was already anticipating WWE making that kind of decision. Not only Maverick, several other wrestlers have been hired and released by the company multiple times in the past. I'm Kevin, and here are 5 former WWE superstars who were released more than once. Number 5, EC3. EC3's first run in WWE came from 2009 to 2013 when he wrestled as Derek Bateman in FCW and Season 4 of NXT. There, he had some interesting programs with his mentor on the show, Daniel Bryan, and the Bella Twins. Many thought that Bateman would end up transitioning to the main roster, but in 2013, he was released from the company. The former Derek Bateman went to Impact Wrestling and became Ethan Carter III, aka EC3, the estranged nephew of then Impact Wrestling boss Dixie Carter. After becoming one of the biggest stars in the company, EC3 became the Impact World Heavyweight Champion on 2 different occasions, and eventually left the company in 2018 and returned to WWE. What many thought would end up being a redemption arc for the second run of EC3 turned into a train wreck in slow motion. After having an impressive run in NXT, including a 5-star 6-man ladder match for the North American Championship, EC3 made his debut in the main roster as part of Raw in 2019. Right with his debut, EC3 began feuding with Dean Ambrose and even got a singles victory over the former WWE champion. However, after wrestling Ambrose in a WWE live event and failing to get the audience to boo his opponent in matches, WWE management reportedly soured upon him, and as a result, in April 2020, as part of budget cuts, EC3 was released from his contract for a second time. Number 4, Drake Maverick. Drake Maverick signed his first contract with WWE back in 2017 after he left Impact Wrestling. Initially, he made his presence felt in WWE as the general manager of 205 Live and manager of the Authors of Pain on Raw. However, it wasn't until 2019 that Maverick truly became a remarkable part of WWE's programming. After the introduction of the 24/7 Championship, Maverick, alongside R-Truth, became 2 of the biggest contenders for the title. The feud lasted long and was one of the most entertaining segments in WWE at the time. Unfortunately, in April 2020, Maverick was let go by WWE alongside a string of WWE superstars as part of budget cuts made due to the early wave of the coronavirus. Interestingly, before the release for the company, Maverick's move to NXT was announced, and he was set to compete in the Cruiserweight Championship tournament on the show. Despite being let go by the company, Maverick participated in the tournament and reached all the way to the finals, only to lose to Santos Escobar. However, Maverick was offered an NXT contract owing to the outpouring of support from the fans, and as a result was hired by WWE right there on the spot. For the next year and a half, Maverick teamed with Killian Dane and eventually landed back on Raw as part of the WWE draft. Maverick went on to win the 24/7 Championship twice before being released in November of 2021 for a second time. Number 3, Luke Gallows. Hey, quick question. Does anybody remember Festus? If not, let's take a stroll down memory lane. Now, Luke Gallows spent 5 years in WWE between 2005 and 2010, initially as Festus, after which he joined forces with CM Punk as a member of the Straight Edge Society. Even that stint didn't quite work out quite well, because in the fall of 2010, Gallows was one of several names released by the company. After spells in Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling, the former Bullet Club member joined WWE alongside his tag team partner Carl Anderson in 2016, and the pair went on to win the Raw Tag Team Championships on 2 occasions. As we know, fast forward to April 2020, just 1 year after they agreed to a long-term deal, the Good Brothers were released. Now, Gallows alongside Anderson are under contract with Impact Wrestling and also are current Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. The 2 also made their AEW debuts as members of the Elite as part of a working deal between Impact and AEW that ended recently. Number 2, yes, Daniel Bryan. Throughout his 11-year run in the company, Daniel Bryan evolved into one of the biggest stars in WWE history. He is a former multi-time WWE World Champion, Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion, and Tag Team Champion. Basically, someone who has done it all. However, none of these might have happened as Bryan was fired by WWE following his main roster debut with The Nexus in 2010. As The Nexus, under the leadership of Wade Barrett, invaded Raw, Bryan was seen destroying everything at ringside along with this entire disruptive group and choke ring announcer Justin Roberts with his own tie, which turned out to be too violent for WWE's PG programming at the time. They did rehire Bryan. He made a surprise return at SummerSlam later that year, and he remained with the company until he decided not to re-sign with WWE and join All Elite Wrestling instead. What you might not know here is that Bryan Danielson was was once released by WWE back in 2001 when he was a part of WWE's developmental program. Owing to his impressive performance, WWE signed him to a contract and sent him to Memphis Championship Wrestling, but their alliance with MCW fell off and Bryan was released with it as well. Number 1. Goldust. Goldust had a multi-decade association with the WWE that stretched over 6 different runs between 1990 and 2019. During his 4th WWE run between 2005 and 2006, the former Intercontinental Champion no-showed on a June 12th episode of Monday Night Raw after he appeared in court without telling management. This, according to the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer, is the reason why he was released at the time. 6 years later, Goldust back with the company for just a few years when he was reportedly released for his role in a botched move that took place on an April 24th episode of SmackDown in 2012. The match saw an up-and-coming Darren Young and Titus O'Neil defeat Yoshitatsu and Ezekiel Jackson, with Young and O'Neil executing a modified Doomsday device on Tatsu to pick up that victory. At the time, Goldust worked as a backstage producer, which meant he was responsible for orchestrating the moves, which looked like it could have seriously injured Tatsu and resulted in Goldust losing his job. Currently, Dustin Rhodes works in All Elite Wrestling as a performer and has several good matches with the promotion, including a stellar Double or Nothing 2019 bout against his brother, Cody Rhodes. It's worth noting, Goldust could be considered a WWE Hall of Famer for his accomplishments there.